Withdrawal of fuel subsidy has not benefited Nigerians. Rather, it has benefited the few people in government.
I saw one of my opponents now say he will go back to subsidy.
I want to repeat categorically what I said. I will return subsidy, I will. And
that is demonstration of a serious ignorance on governance and economy.
But nothing was working. So, tribunal came in. And the first thing they did was remove subsidy. Even though people say it was in a rush, but he said, if I didn't do it at that time, I wouldn't do it again. So I agree with them in this subsidy removal.
I supported subsidy removal with a sense of delusion, thinking that government would change its culture of lack of transparency. But they didn't.
President TINUBU removed subsidy and after eating a bowl of amala in 2023.
Finally collapsed and we are not functioning for almost 2 decades.
And said, oh, he got to Eagle Square, climbed the podium and said subsidy is gone.
Massive smuggling, leakages. NNPC was not able to remit funds to the Federation account. We had massive forward sales of our crude. It's created a massive problem even for our foreign exchange situation.
Have we dared to ask him one day, where is the money? Where is the proceeds of the subsidy?
Subsidy. Yes. Because they're saying that if we were still paying subsidy, we'd be deeper in...
In the first place, they are still paying subsidy. They just changed the name of what they call it.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Plan B TV News. Atiku vowed to remove fuel subsidy. Now, he came back again and said he's going to reinstate the fuel subsidy simply because the way this fuel subsidy have put Nigeria in abject poverty is not pleasant with it. And all head break loose. It's like he exposed Bola Ahmed Tinubu agenda on how they have been siphoning this treasury. I want you guys to watch the particular video of when Atiku said he's removing this subsidy and the reason he said he's going to remove it. We'll be right back.
Let's talk about your manifesto. Looks like the subject of removal of subsidy is conspicuously absent in that manifesto. Is this an oversight?
It's not an oversight, but I thought Nigerians have now come to accept my position on the issue, you know, of subsidy removal. Recall that when I was vice president, we had designed subsidy removal in 4 stages. And I was the chairman of subsidy removal committee. At that time, I worked very, very closely with former Governor Adams Oshinole, who was then president of the NLC. And we removed subsidy phase 1, phase 2. And by phase 2, by the time we finished phase 2, we had left office. We expected the next PDP government and the late Umaru to continue with the phase 2 and phase 3. That would have ended the issue of subsidy. But unfortunately, the policy got stuck. For one reason or the other, I don't know, because I had left the government. So I think it is inevitable that it has to happen, but it has also to be accompanied. And if you recall what we did in phase 1 and phase 2, the NLC made the demands on the issue of transportation, on the issue of allowances, increase in wages, which we all met. And then we removed phase 1 and phase 2. So I believe through negotiations again with the organized labor and also other sectors of the economy, that policy should resume and be completed.
Now, when Atiku said he's going to reinstate the fuel subsidy, I want you guys to see how Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the man that normally lock himself in bunker and don't speak, quickly run out to come and defend the fuel subsidy. Why he must be removed. I want you guys to listen to him.
I saw one of my opponents now say he will go back to subsidy. I read it. That is demonstration of a serious ignorance on governance and economy. Before I came here, 27 states are unable to pay salaries. Not to even talk of pensioners, salary of workers.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not acting like the Nigerian pastors who remain silent whenever things are going on in Nigeria. Immediately speaking against tithe. All of them start defending tithe. Now they are talking about the fuel subsidy. You see how Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the only president who lives in the bunker that don't speak to his people, was quick to tackle Abubakar. But I want you guys to watch how Solomon Dialogue responded to all of this fuel subsidy. We'll be right back.
On fuel subsidy, I stand with the reintroduction of fuel subsidy because The withdrawal of fuel subsidy has not benefited Nigerians. Rather, it has benefited the few people in government. They are the only people we can see them transform. The president has transformed from somebody who was very weak in 2023. He is very strong now. He can afford to tell Nigerians that since he was born, poverty has been in Nigeria, so it should not be an issue. So on fuel subsidy, let's reintroduce fuel subsidy because that is the only thing that benefits the common man. On the issue of corruption, we must approach corruption frontally. This government has no capacity to deal with corruption because it is foundation on corruption. If you look at the nomination of the president's form before INEC, primary school, nil. Secondary school, nil. But he has BSc in accounting. That is fraud. A government foundation on that type of situation cannot fight corruption.
And you listen to what Solomon Delok said. It didn't end there. Now it's going to be TINUBU camp versus Nigerians. I want you guys to watch this particular video on how this man insists that fuel subsidy has been removed and it will stay removed. You don't want the fuel subsidy to come back. How dare you people want the fuel subsidy to return? I want you guys to see his reason.
The government is saying subsidy removal are strengthening the public finances. But what do those numbers really mean? And where are the gains in the prices Nigerians pay?
Let me first have a short conversation on the whole principle of this subsidy removal. Because we have gone through this route in the past. And I'm surprised that this is coming up as a major economic discourse. We went through a regime in the petroleum downstream sector, which was riddled by massive corruption. The refineries collapsed and were not functioning for almost 2 decades. Massive smuggling, leakages, NNPC was not able to remit funds to the Federation account. We had massive forward sales of our crude. It's created a massive problem even for our foreign exchange situation. So if you have gone through that kind of experience, why on earth should you at this time and age be discussing about going back to that kind of regime? I think we should elevate the level of economic discourse as we move closer to the, because there are bigger issues. We have issues to discuss about electricity. There are issues to discuss about insecurity. We have issues of agricultural productivity, industrial productivity, job creation and so on, even infrastructure. So we should elevate the level of our economic discourse to be discussing more serious and more sustainable policy propositions. Now, coming back to the point you made about the revenues and all of that. Of course, I listened to, and all of us listened to the Minister of Finance a few days ago, where he comprehensively laid out the numbers. And what we saw from those numbers was that even the subnationals were bigger beneficiaries of this subsidy removal and the subsidy savings. Close to 60% of that went into the subnationals. Just about 40%, was to the federal. And you can see that in the way the fiscal operations of the subnationals have been. In fact, over the last few years, the subnationals were in a much better fiscal position, even than the federal. And you can see that from their budget implementation, for the kind of project they have been implementing, for their ability to clear areas and all of that. While even the federal itself is struggling. Because the federal government itself is also paying a huge price, even under this reform architecture. The federal government has stopped or practically, drastically reduced these waste and means finances. It is easy for the government to just issue checks to the central bank and say, okay, bring in this money. Under the previous administration, close to 5 trillion or more annually they were getting from waste and means. That has stopped practically. Then there is this exchange rate effect on the servicing of foreign debt. That has a significant impact on the financials of government. The same thing with interest payment. You also have the electricity subsidy. I mean, the minister laid out all these numbers, and they were very, very clear. But the point I will make is that correcting the distortions in the economy is much more significant beyond revenue. Because we are talking about creating an ecosystem that will allow more investment to come in, that will increase the level of investors' confidence, that will allow more jobs to be created. And we are beginning to see that in our macroeconomic numbers.
Now you're listening to what he said. Oh, we shouldn't be discussing the fuel subsidy now. We should focus and channel our energy on the economic reform and the electricity, whatever. Now I want you guys to listen to Shaib. What Shaibu said about the fuel subsidy, how the government have benefited from it and the masses are suffering from it. We'll be right back.
Well, the beauty is this. The question I would ask you is that since President TINUBU removed subsidy, when he came with a three-word slogan after eating a bowl of amala in May 2023, and said, oh, he got to Eagle Square, climbed the podium and said subsidy is gone. Have we dared to ask him one day, where is the money? Where is the proceeds of the subsidy? We have raised questions. The issue is, we have over 20 million out of school children in Nigeria. The proceeds of this subsidy, the gains purportedly made from this subsidy, where has it gone to? Atiku Abubakar sat with his team some weeks ago, and we were together for over 3 weeks. We analyzed TINUBU's figures based on the FAC records, the Federal Accounts and Allocation Committee records, that between 2024 and July 2026, deductions, codenamed savings, deductions, and transfer charges, everything amounted to over 30 trillion naira. We have asked Mr. President, please, where is our money? He could not raise one single accountant to do that reconciliation. But when Atiku stepped out 2 days ago, so said, no, I'm going to return fuel subsidy. Of course, I have a new model. He did not just deploy all his court jesters. He came out himself and rendered some comments even in poorly constructed grammar. You understand? And it is unfortunate because for a man who claimed and told Nigerians that, look, we have made so much gains from subsidy, we still have out-of-school children in alarming numbers. The number of out-of-school children in Nigeria is far more than the number of the population of some African countries of some African countries. And I tell you for free, for a serious government who claim to have made gains, I will tell you, the current capacity of our universities in Nigeria hovers between 700,000 to about 900,000. Over 4 to 5 million children write the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board exams every year. How has this government improved the infrastructure in our universities to increase the carrying capacity? So if 4 to 5 million children write JAMB every year, and the universities can only accommodate not more than 700 to 900,000, what happens to the remaining, let's say 4.1 million children? Well, so you cannot talk about insecurity without dealing with the issue of education. Absolutely. So it is this misapplication, this maladministration, this appropriation of government funds to fake agencies, non-existent agencies, to building of allocation of billions of naira, trillions of naira to agencies that do not even have records at the CS.
Questions still remain. Where is the money for this fuel subsidy? You have removed it. You said you give it to the state governor. The state governors, like that of Edo State and the rest, they are not using the money. We are not seeing the benefit of this fuel subsidy. Everybody is basically suffering from it, apart from the government that are enriching themselves. Now, I want you guys to see what Showore said about the fuel subsidy. We'll be right back.
Are you planning to bring back subsidy? Are you planning to pay? Okay, you would bring back subsidy. Yes. Because they're saying that if we were still paying subsidy, we'd be deeper in...
In the first place, they are still paying subsidy. They just change the name of what they call it. They are subsidizing not only petrol, because they don't have enough, they can't produce locally. They're also subsidizing the naira. That's one thing they will never tell you. The reason the naira is at a certain, rate to the dollar is because it's been quietly and secretly subsidized. Otherwise,
all countries defend their currency.
Yes, but why are you lying about subsidy then? We have to stop telling lies about... See, what everybody has agreed happened to subsidy is not that subsidy is bad, because there's no country in the world that don't subsidize their poor. In fact, the people that get the most subsidy in Nigeria is not the poor, it's the rich. All the people who bring in, foreign goods and services. Go and look at their waivers at customs. You will know who is getting real subsidy compared to the people who are getting 10 naira from each gallon of petrol that was taken away from them. And you saw what happened. Immediately you remove subsidy. Look at where your economy tanked. Your naira also went down the toilet. So there's no need for us to sit down here and ask, what would you do differently? Of course, what we have to do differently, first and foremost, is to get rid of this old mentality and the ideas that brought poverty to become a standard, a household name in Nigeria. And now they have upgraded it to what they call multidimensional poverty. The Food and Agriculture Organization regards Nigeria as one of the places where you need food in 2026. That is to say, we are so bad, and we are about the only country producing oil that's on FAO's list of countries that has food shortages. That's the country we are in. But they don't want to tell you all this because it's all about the optics. But optics don't feed people. Propaganda can't feed people. People are dying in this country of hunger, starvation. People can't afford to live. And when we come and say it on the morning show, it's not because we want to come and grandstand. We're telling you the truth. You have relatives who put so much pressure on you. Some of you no longer pick your phones anymore because people think you have enough to take care of them. What is referred to in America as black tax, where your relatives feel like you owe them your life. And you can't blame them. If people can't survive, who do they turn to? They turn to their better relatives. Because the country that's supposed to support them is not there to provide that support in terms of economic, social justice, and all of what is needed to keep our people going. And we say we can change that. That's why we keep asking you to stop listening to them and listen to fresh ideas and fresh people who can make this country work.
You listen to Showore points. You listen to what he said about the fuel subsidy and why he wants the fuel subsidy to return. The reason he insists that the fuel subsidy return will aid and help the Nigerian entirely. Now, I want you guys to watch how the News Central react to all of this. We'll be right back.
Former Vice President is saying that, listen, if I come back, I'm going to bring back subsidy for these purposes you've mentioned. I've seen the kickback from the presidency. They've talked tough about it. They've said, oh no, you are so, even the FCT minister said he's so thirsty. Everybody's so thirsty and desperate to get into power. That how can you bring back something? Nigerians have also reminded the current administration and the president that, do you remember when former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan wanted to remove it too? You stopped him from removing it and said it was a bad move. So how come you've now loved it so much that it is a good mood? Therefore, why did you stop him in the first instance?
But that argument to me is not too. I was just simplistic. It's a bit simplistic.
Okay.
Dynamics have changed. Johnson, 2012. It has changed. Things have changed. I said, if you look at where we're coming from, 8 years of Buhari, physical and monetary rascality. They messed up the economy. Look at the foreign exchange. Look at the subsidy regime. Look at the major indices in the economy. Nothing was working. So, tribunal came in. And the first thing they did was to remove subsidy. Even though people say he was in a rush, but he said, if I didn't do it at that time, I won't do it again. So I agree with them in this subsidy remover. But what I'm saying is that the remover stopped the loopholes, the racket that has been going on in that industry, and they stop it. What are they doing to make sure the refineries are working? If they force the subsidy, then the refineries must work. So we stop importing fuel. Nigeria is perhaps the only country, and it will be corrected, that is a major oil producer and importing fuel, importing crude. Are we okay? So these are the things that I think should have been dealt with before listening. But what Atiku is now saying, that Atiku is beginning the debate. Atiku is starting the debate that come. There are many things going, there are many fraud going on here. I'm ready to do the right thing. He's not saying they will remove subsidy, we bring it back. Say now we do the right thing so that Nigeria can benefit from the removal.
Okay. Now, in all of this, a lot of them have said all kinds of things, either to remove, to bring it back, and all of that. Now, Atiku is back. Atiku said, unapologetically, I want that first subsidy back. And the reason I want it back is this. I want you guys to watch.
This afternoon or this evening, so many Nigerians have been calling me to say that, one of my press aides had contradicted me in my policy statement as far as subsidy is concerned. I want to repeat categorically that what I said, I will return subsidy, I will. And Nigeria is rich enough to look after the welfare of its citizens. Therefore, let it be clearly stated that he was not speaking on my own authority. because the removal of subsidy has driven more Nigerians into poverty than at any other time in the history of the country. And the fundamental responsibility of the government is the welfare of the citizens. Two, I will make sure we secure this country. We are competing with thieves. They stole the election. Now they have stolen the economy. They have stolen everything.
Atiku is still standing by his words that fuel subsidy must come back. Now, I want you guys to listen to Rufai Oseni on how he explained his own side of the story about the fuel subsidy, who is benefiting from it.
President TINUBU at first doesn't have a moral right to call Atiku Abubakar an economic ignorant person based on the fact that he called for reintroduction of subsidies. Let me quote and read from an article written by President TINUBU himself in 2012, opposing subsidy removal, where he says that by taking this step, the government has tossed the people into the depths of the midnight sea. Government demands the people swim to safety under their own power, claiming that the attendant hardship will build character and add efficiency to national government. It is easy to make these claims when one is dry and unsure, but government will have us believe that every of the hardship it manufactures for the people is an enduring good thing. This is a lie. The hardship they thrust on the poor often bear no other purpose than to keep them poor. I'm not calling Goodluck Jonathan perverse, but I'm saying he is a slave to a wrong-headed economics, and the people will only become a slave to greater misery. President TINUBU, many years after writing this article, went ahead to remove subsidy, and true to his words, the people become a slave to misery in Nigeria. You see, the question I will first ask all of the proponents, and Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, as the Minister of Finance, is that they should please give us an empirical, surgical calculation of the cost of loss of personal value of money that Nigeria suffered based on the inflation and the attendant economic conditions since the removal of subsidy. While they calculate the benefits, 15 trillion or 20 trillion, they say, they should also calculate the cost lost by Nigerians. I can give them some part of the calculation. If companies quoted on the stock exchange because of the devaluation they lost about 4 trillion, then they should calculate the rest of Nigerians and give us the number. But I can tell them the number is reflecting on the precipitous drop in our GDP value after the devaluation. And that's to the tunes of hundreds of billions. The second point, there is nothing Atiku Abubakar said that is new. It's not a new idea. How did we start subsidy? 73, Yom Kippur War happened. Crude oil prices, the OPEC embargo happened in 73. Crude oil prices rose from $2 per barrel to $12 per barrel. Nigeria was awash with money, but there was also a problem created. High petrol prices, because before then it was a liberalized market, high petrol prices sent inflation to the roof. At the time when Gowon paid the Udoji wage award, inflation had skyrocketed so much in the 70s. So it was a double whammy. A lot of inflation precipitated by the crude oil crisis, and also there was a lot of money in the hands of Nigeria. In fact, it was said that Yakubu Gowon said, the problem is not money but how to spend it. That's why Obasanjo brought in 1977 a price regulation cap, where pretty much what they did then was to sell crude to refineries at a lower cost so that they will in turn subsidize for the people. That's what Atiku is just saying he wants to do now. We did that up till 1980, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, when we now had something called the SFEM, Second Tier Foreign Exchange Market. Remember the SAP debates and everything. When we devalued the Naira, then the government started seeing that the cost was already too much because it was double what they could manage before now. And because of that, then the government also had to jack up prices. But you see, that time coincided with the time that the refineries were already getting decrepit. The refineries were in bad shape. So because of that, the government now transited in the 90s to a model where they did a two-tier system. The first tier system was, number one, get a cartel. All obviously their friends and cronies and the corrupt people got a cartel. They were bringing in crude. The second tier system was NNPC bringing in and offsetting the other recovery. This system now morphed into a system where it was only these other cartels that were bringing in, lots of people benefited. We know how the days of how people used to bring in water, and they would say they brought in crude oil and everything and all of that. And then the next model, we now had to set up the Ike committee and said, no, enough of all of this corruption. And when we set up that committee cleaned it up and they said NNPC should be sole importer. But NNPC too has shown great levels of corruption in not declaring what is really happening in the ecosystem. NNPC has not solved the problem. And because of that, the costs have increased. We talk about arbitrage. We said subsidy was going to cure arbitrage. No, it didn't. Removal of subsidy it didn't cure arbitrage. You're still selling crude oil, petrol 1,200 here. In Benin is about 2,000. All right? Mm-hmm. People are still taking the fuel out. There's still a lot of arbitrage. Go to the Payo, or what do they call them in Benin Republic? It's still Nigerian fuel they sell. Those that sell fuel by the roadside. Yes, you can argue that it just reduces the arbitrage, but your devaluation of your currency has even increased the problem because, to a large extent, your fuel is now much cheaper than it used to be before. So easily they can go up it and across the refinery. So that has continued. The lack of transparency, I think, is the reason for the arguments. Because government is never transparent. And I get your point, Vimbai. I mean, I'm developmental in my outlook. I think we should invest in agriculture and everything. But government has shown that any gains, they cannot effectively invest it. And it's a culture of government. Government is known to be wasteful in this country. The Gulf War revenue, the money we put into Gulf War, the money we made from Gulf War, the heavy windfall, we couldn't invest it effectively. All the other windfalls we've made, we couldn't invest in effectively. The money we kept in sovereign wealth account, the states wanted it, they ate it up like Kobayashi. So we're thinking that governments that cannot run ordinary refinery, that they collected $3 billion of Nigerian money for, that is not up and running, that some people went to lie, that smoke is shining, is bellowing, the refineries are working till today, and government cannot account for that money. Is this that government that you think will get the subsidy reinvestment money and invest in the sector? Obviously, we've seen what they've done with it. What have they done with it? They went to start a brand new road where they paid $1 billion for 47 kilometers loan, when we have, and the road is supposed to cost $15 billion. And when we had pending roads there, that we can sort out all the roads for $14 billion. So you can see effectively, so it's a cultural thing. And then go back to we saying we break the PIA law, like we were talking about. Ayo, I submit to you, President TINUBU already broke the PIA law by paying subsidies in 2024. After saying subsidy was gone in 2023. He keeps breaking the PIA law. See, the question is here, should we not correct it? It's a chicken and egg situation. Yes. Should we not correct it at the expense of the suffering people, at the expense of the lack of transparency in NNPC? Ayo, do you know that as of 2026, the so-called subsidy money that came in, that they said they made as gain, NNPC still kept 50% of those revenue to say it's still paying for backlogs of subsidies of years ago. So it's still a form of subsidy that is going on. So 2024, 2025, those numbers are there on the NNPC book. Why are they keeping half of the revenue when they say it's all cleared out? Only God knows what is going on with the books. That's why I say I don't trust the books. So what's the final solution? See, the truth is, Atiku is not saying anything new. There's an argument for free market that people have built refinery, yes, and all of that. We know that argument. But also, there is also a bigger argument of the lack of transparency of government. The reason why we're talking about it is the lack of transparency of government. All they promised forward did not materialize. All the investment they said they were going to make in health and education did not materialize. What's the CNG adoption? President TINUBU was talking yesterday that we have alternative energy fund. I would have suggested an alternative energy mix. But where's the rail? Where's the alternative energy mix? Where's the rail to be able to carry agri produce? So if we are talking about agricultural exports, Vimbai, the very first thing the British did when they came in the 1800s was they built rail line to carry agri produce. Where are the rails to carry agri produce into the hinterlands? Do you think we're going to depend everything on road? The cost per mile of shipping through rail is way cheaper than shipping through road.
Absolutely.
So where are all of those infrastructural development that they said this subsidy removal was going to help us? And also, where is the cost-benefit analysis of projects done that they said this subsidy is going to help us on? So it's a chicken and egg situation. It is, I think, the most important thing, and I think that's what I've always argued. I supported subsidy removal, but I supported subsidy removal with a sense of delusion, thinking that government would change its culture of lack of transparency. But they didn't. This was all this argument of let's invest in agriculture, let's invest in rail, let's invest in education. These were the arguments we made It was sweet in our mouths. The taste of the pudding is in the eating.
How about him saying that it's made states more able to pay salaries?
It's
that
made
was one
states
of their
able to
biggest
pay.
arguments that they've been able. There's a windfall.
Can I say with due respect, that's one of the. Let me pardon my French. That's one of the most interesting arguments I've heard in my life. So the whole essence of a state is to be able to pay salaries. How about argue about the out? That's why I say it's a very, and you know, I had to conceal a lot of French and Greek to say that. How about him say the health outcomes of states have improved? How about him say the education threshold of states are improved? So the sum total of his arguments is that with this windfall, states can pay salaries. So that's the salaries that have been eroded by inflation. So that's the sum total of his arguments.
So
where are the health outcome?
Yes.
Where are the education outcome?
Yes.
And please, with due respect, I'm speaking for the governors today. I know a lot of them. Ask them the so-called increased revenue. What's the value of that money for them compared to what they had access to spend before? Okay. What's the value of doing a road compared to what it used to be before?
Thank you very much.
Is it that easy on them? These governors are not coming out to talk because they're shouting on your mandates. They know where the shoe is pinching them.
All right, thank you
so much. Let's put it on the table. There's no clear argument. There's no one-side fits all to it. But let's debate
That's
it.
why we have solutions.
Yeah, let's debate it.
We had talking about the debate. We have a guest coming on the show later on to speak further on this. But I think very important to take away from all that has been said is transparency and accountability, which has been missing, has been touted very loudly to have been missing when it comes to where the investment from the windfalls of savings from subsidy has gone in this.
We are going to end this video here. I will ask you guys one question. I've watched the whole video. Do you want fuel subsidy back? If yes, tell us why. Do you want it to stay removed? If yes, tell us why. I want you guys to comment your thoughts regarding to all of this. And why is it that the government alone are benefiting from the fuel subsidy? What are your opinion regarding to how the Arise TV News also do some exegesis to these videos? I'll be waiting for you guys in the comment section. I love you guys. God love you more. Until we meet again, stay tuned for my TV. Peace out.